Welcome to Faithfulcrum, a podcast in which Scott and Mark have conversations about faith, spirit, creativity, meaning, and almost anything else. We don't always agree, so you don't have to either. But we do agree that a good conversation sometimes makes a great song.
Welcome to Faithfulcrum. We're discussing faith, spirituality, creativity, technology, humanity. And I'm, as always, joined with by my co-host and best friend, Scott Simpson.
Hey, thanks, Mark. I'm excited today. We've got another guest. You know, we occasionally have these conversations, just the two of us, and then we occasionally bring in a guest to kind of keep things interesting. And I think this guest will be great. This is a good friend of mine and colleague named Andrew Ley. And Andrew, I think we've been working at the same place for what, 5 years now, or is it more than that?
4 years, yep.
4 years? Okay. Well, so anyway, I'm gonna toss it to Andrew. He's got a lot of things a lot of experience in a lot of things he's doing, but also his personal interests that I think will really take us in some interesting directions tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Mark. It's great to meet you, Mark. Again, my name's Andrew. I work with technology integration, specifically with artificial intelligence, which obviously is becoming a transformative technology in our society. It's impacting education. It's impacting the workforce. And I'm super excited to just talk technology, spirituality, and creativity with you guys.
Great. Thanks, Andrew.
Andrew, can you tell us just a little bit where you do that? What's the context in which you do this work?
I work with school districts across the Midwest. I've worked with over 100 different school districts looking at how teachers can better use AI to be efficient, to take some tasks off of their plates, as well as really start exploring how students can use AI in a way that doesn't shortcut their learning.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Andrew has made it his job to be aware of a lot of new things coming out so that he can, for one, give teachers the newest tools, access to the newest tools that are coming out. But also he's working on a number of things at the university level with some initiatives in the state and some things like that. So he's been the guy who kind of has pointed me to new things, and so that's been helpful for me.
Great. And I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Mark Baldridge. Hello, I'm Mark Baldridge, your host.
With the guy with the radio voice.
Yeah, I have the face for radio, they say.
That's right. Well, Mark, I think it's my turn.
And Scott, I believe it's your turn to pitch the topic to us. What do you got for us this time?
Well, yeah, I went back to the last episode that we did, and it was all about learning. And so what I thought, we did maybe touch just a little bit on AI, but not a whole lot. We talked really a lot about learning and what learning is and maybe what learning isn't and what makes good learning happen. But I really think that with Andrew with us and with his background with AI, that maybe we'll start out with kind of that as a topic, how AI... how it might be helpful in learning, and also maybe specifically some of the ways that it's not so helpful. I know we've touched a lot, Mark, on. We've spent a lot more time on AI in creativity, generative AI, and how artists might use it, or writers, or musicians, or whatever, and some of those issues. But I think the educational use maybe is a little bit different. So Andrew, I'd love to just have you get us started. What if you could let us know, because you've been working on this now for a good long time. What do you think are really the best uses of AI tools? And then if you'd like to share some of the things that you think maybe are less helpful, that based on your experience with teachers in the field.
Yeah, I see AI to be a really powerful thought partner, sounding board. It does a really good job at the sheer amount of ideas that it can come up with.
Hmm.
And research has shown time and time again that AI doesn't necessarily meet up to the standards of human ideas and ideas that humans have thought of as far as the quality, but it can produce way more ideas on a quantitative basis than humans. And so me personally, that's how I use it, is to try to connect things that maybe on the surface I'm not able to connect very well. I also see AI as a great way to provide another perspective, or more or less a critique of any type of content that I do create.
Yeah.
I create AI generated music, or should I say produce, because create is a strong word there. um, I also like to use AI to generate images and, of course, text and different textual content. But as I do a lot of professional development with educators, something I like to use AI for is to run all my slides and my content by AI for essentially a third-party audit, or whatever you want to call it, so that, I'm not, as, of course, the biased presenter, as someone who thinks all my content is the best. I want to see from a different perspective what it really looks like.
Yeah. One of the things that you and I have talked about that you touched on there that I'd like to maybe dig deeper in and hear some of what, because I think Mark has had some experiences with this as well, because we've talked about it in the past. But you talked about AI bringing up lots and lots of ideas, and I think of those as potential starting places. But then you talk. Andrew, we talked in the hallway the other day about that engagement with AI, the back and forth, and you just used it. What did you call it when you were just talking about that?
Sounding board,
Yeah.
or
just a way to test ideas, to go back and forth, and to work through the thought process, whether it's the creative process or the evaluative thought process. If you're working on a slide deck that you're going to use for a presentation or whatever, could you talk a little bit more about why that might be helpful, or maybe a good use?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just helps to kind of deepen your own reflection and AI does a really good job asking you and pushing you to dig deeper, I think. Especially if you set up instructions for AI to not just give you the answer, but to more or less engage in a Socratic dialogue with you.
Yeah.
Does a good job tutoring you on a topic, or getting you to brainstorm a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
You said the machine could hold 1,000 sparks, while I sit tracing circles in the dark. Every answer splitting into 10 more roads. Static in the wires, humming soft and cold. I fed it all my unfinished scenes, the things I meant but never really mean. Now the screen keeps asking who I are, like a mirror learning human scars. And it talks me down into deeper water. Not a savior now, just a strange collaborator. We are sounding bored hearts, bouncing signals in the blue glow. Dark, you and me in the small sentence finally hers. Don't write the ending for me, just ask the better questions. Leave the space between the notes for all my strange confessions. And it talks me down into deeper water. Not a savior now, just a strange collaborator. We are sounding bored, hearts bouncing, signals in the blue glow. Dark you and me and the artificial light, trying to turn noise into a life. All the thoughts come fast, but the soul comes slow. So I keep one hand on the things I know.
One of the things that I've found it helpful with is if I find some content that I feel like is good content that's going to help me, whether it's, for instance, I've built some custom GPTs for to help me work through fiction writing, for instance. I did a little bit of research to find some articles about that, and loaded those up as part of its knowledge base and said, specifically go to these things to determine how you're going to respond to me as you look at what I'm working on, how you might guide me, because I think these are some pretty articles with pretty good insight. And so that's something I can't do. I just don't have the brain capacity to hold every bit of good stuff that I get out of an article or something. But AI is able to jump in and remind me of something.
That's interesting. What kind of articles were they? Were they talking about specifically about how AI can help a writer?
No. I for instance, I do a search and say, what are some great tips if I've got a fiction piece that I'm wanting to revise? Where do you start with that? And there are authors who have put out stuff, and they say, here's how I go about it. This is the first thing I look for, and then this the next thing, and they're putting that out for free on the internet. And I assume, because I'm not copying what they say, I'm not writing up and publishing what they say, but I'm asking AI to learn what they have suggested, and then help guide me as I work on revising a short story or something.
Yeah, I don't think you have an intellectual property issue there.
No. But I mean, that's an important thing. I mean, I think that's something we're going to be talking about. I mean, I guess if I lean heavily on someone's advice, it might be a very nice thing. And maybe this will be kind of standard procedure in the future, to disclose the knowledge base completely that you have used, that you've leaned on, for help in doing something.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm writing a novel myself, and one of the things I started doing some time ago was I created a folder of acknowledgments, but rather than like the regular, I'd like to think, my beta readers or whatever, I at least maybe as well as that, I started jotting down basically the source of everything I stole. Any idea I remotely know that I know where I got it from, I just jot down where. And I'm not real specific. Like if it's something from Alice in Wonderland, I'll just say Lewis Carroll. You have to go find where I stole it from. But I thought that was. I don't know if publishers are interested in having a page or several pages like that in the end of a book. But it seems like something kind of worth doing for fun. I mean, for the reader's fun.
I also think it's kind of, to go back to maybe what we've talked about in the past, it's kind of a nice transparency sort of thing, not because I'm liable about it, but it's like, this is the way this works. I'm not generating everything straight out of my brain. I have engaged with culture, with literature, with music, with everything. And I have absorbed bits and pieces of that I found helpful. And now I've reconfigured them and put my own ideas and developed something new that I'm now giving to you. And I feel like if our students, just to go back to education, especially students, when I was teaching English, I was teaching writing a lot. And the biggest killer of a young person writing is that they think that it's got to be perfect, or that they think that their brain has to be the
source,
never-ending authority of everything and source of everything, rather than realizing that they're picking up bits and pieces all the time. Find the ways that those fit together.
I may have started doing this kind of acknowledgments in response to criticisms of AI. Now, I'm not, I just want to say again, I'm not using AI in any way to write this, but I recognize how much I steal. I have a whole, I have a whole kind of alien species that I just lifted from a Scottish science fiction writer, and I'd like to acknowledge that. Mine's different enough to avoid lawsuit, but it's not about that. I want people to go, hey, he also steals.
Yeah, in the fiction that I've been recently writing, I've been mostly stealing from you the things that you stole from other people. So yeah, that's a really nice kind of. There's almost a family tree of theft in any kind of creative work. That it'd be nice to outline the family tree.
Everything is a remix. Yeah.
Something that I have seen recently with AI and intellectual property is kind of this debate over ownership of content versus ownership of thought. And that has been kind of, especially in the education world and research, with many different higher education faculty using AI to do research, is using AI to, write parts of your literature review, to help you come up with a methodology. Does that come down to you owning those different thoughts, or is it the content?
Strictly speaking, ideas cannot be copyrighted. If they could, then that lady with the wizard school would owe a lot of money to previous wizard schools. You know what I'm saying?
Right. To a lot of people. We only have so many words, so many letters, so many notes, and we just got to keep remixing them. And
in the law, the most success. I do a unit on intellectual property on almost every class I teach, just a little bit, just to talk about it, and because students have questions, and they have misconceptions, but the number one most successful countersuit or argument against a lawsuit about intellectual property theft or infringement is you stole it too. A classic example is this is actually not writing but technology. At one point, Apple was kind of the other people were creating tablets and other kinds of phones that looked a lot like their phone, and they said iPads and whatnot, and so they sued a Korean company. I forget, I don't remember, Samsung or somebody, saying your design's like our design, and they were claiming basically to have invented the tablet, and that you couldn't make another tablet that was like theirs, and the argument that their opposition came up with was to show a scene from Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Where guys are using IBM branded tablets. And of course, that technology didn't exist, but the idea clearly did. And anyway, you can't copyright an idea. You might be able to trademark one. That might be something I don't know as much about, but yeah, I tell my students, a young person thinks that they are more than average, less than average. They're just totally boring. Their life is boring. And then they find out they have some secret potentiality, an older, wiser person brings this to their attention and then begins to train them in order to defeat a prescient evil. That is so many stories, right?
Yeah,
It's Bilbo, and it's Harry Potter, and it's Luke Skywalker.
The hero's journey. I mean, it's embedded in who we are as human beings.
Yeah,
in
nobody
our culture.
owns that.
Nobody owns that. But I think for a long time we have had. Part of what I think we are supposed to do as teachers is to initiate young people into the chunks of our culture that they might not just naturally stumble upon. At least I see that as part of what the humanities or liberal arts are about. They're gonna pick up by living the most prevalent parts of culture, the parts of culture that are most important to them, that are relatively close to them, but then to help initiate them into seeing some of these other pieces and other ways that those elements have been put together, even the things that they know about, to show them the antecedents to those things. And it seems to me that some of these processes that we're talking about, as I work through with someone like AI, something like AI, if I give myself to that engagement, not just here's a prompt, give me what I want, then that's a really great tool for learning things. I know that I have learned a lot of things by going through that process.
I stole the fire from an oldest song, changed the rhythm, carried it along. You stole a dream from a paperback spine, now it's living underneath your lines. We are patchwork kids with electric lungs, singing borrowed present different tongues. Every melody's a ghost reborn, every new thing weathered before it's born. Everything is a remix now, every cathedral, every crown, every hero's just another face, painted in familiar shades. And we keep pretending we invented the stars, when we're all just echoes driving second-hand cars. The wizard school and the desert moon, the farm boys staring at the ruin, the old myth wrapped in neon skin, same old war we're fighting in. No one knows the river, no one knows the rain, we just cup our hands together and give it different names. Everything is a remix now, threading futures through the sound. If I stole something beautiful, I hope I made it human too.
I decide. I'll give one example. One of the pieces of fiction that I was writing just recently was it's a series. It's about a songwriter who gets commissioned to write songs.
Huh.
Go figure.
How'd you come up with that idea?
I don't know. Just pull it out of somewhere. But But anyway, so in this, I was coming up with ideas that would drive a new novella. And I thought, how about a couple of parents who have a child, a son who is nonverbal and on the spectrum, but is very responsive to sound, to noise. And how about that? They're trying to connect with their son, and they're having some success, but they're not sure if it's working. And there's this guy who does, music by commission, and they're not sure what they want, but they ask him to come over and maybe figure something out and do something with an instrument, or maybe with just sound or something. And so
interesting idea.
That drives the story. But for me to be able to put that together, I knew a little bit about autism, about being nonverbal, about the approach to music therapy or to sound therapy, but not a whole lot. So I could have spent, a couple of weeks, and maybe it would have been great, sitting and reading a whole lot about that, or to feed that in and then to ask questions and to help design the process and the engagement that was going on between them based on, real studies that have happened.
Yeah.
And so that was but in the process, I was learning a whole lot about that as well. And I was learning about it because I was working on something that I really wanted to complete. It wasn't like somebody assigned me some reading
Yes.
that was kind of just like, what? Okay, I'm supposed to learn about autism now. It was. I'm telling a story, and I want to tell this story well, and so
How do you both feel like AI affects your creativity? And the reason why I ask that is I'm a content creator on TikTok, and I've been doing that for a couple of years now with multiple different channels. And I've had several videos go viral over the last 2 years. And each one of those videos, while AI was a tool that I used to help develop some of the lyrics for a song, to help develop the visuals, the key concept and idea for those viral videos all came from up here, from my head.
Yeah.
Like I said previously, AI can give you such a good breadth of ideas, but the quality of those ideas, AI is not very creative. It's just not, because it's going back on the data it's been trained on.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about AI and creativity?
I'll start. I do the same thing. Like I said, right now, I've been doing it with music. I've done it some with poetry. I'm doing it. I've done it some with nonfiction, and I'm working now on some fiction. But what I like to do is sit down and just verbally download a complex, everything I can think about of a complex idea for, right now I've been, and I'm not trying to compete, Mark, but I'm working in science fiction right now.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
I'll take you all on.
Yeah, please. I figured that wouldn't scare you too much.
Not scared.
Yeah, no, I didn't think you would be, but to be able to because these are ideas that I've come up with for years, and for whatever reason, my capacity to carry through with that, the time that it takes to carry it to its end has been for some reason limited, and maybe I'm just limiting myself. But these tools, I've been able to give a pretty complex set of ideas, pretty extensive, and then say, this is what I want to do. And then it will begin structuring that out. And then we go back and forth. And then I can have it draft sections, and I'll adjust and change and say, now we're going to have to do this differently. And it's more like a conversation. But all of it began with that seed and then continues in process with me continuing to seed it with different ideas. But also it's seeding me with a lot of ideas. It's coming up with some connections that I didn't notice, that I wouldn't have thought of. And so then that gives me other new ideas. And that's what I've found really helpful recently.
I don't really use it in my creative work. I will say I've experimented with showing or uploading parts of my writing just to see what it has to say. And once or twice it has made connections that were not really clear to me. I'll give you an example. I had a black goat, a festival of the he goat, and it's set in the past. And the festival of the black goat also had big kind of bonfires. And it mentioned the smoke of the bonfires, it used a kind of poetic phrase or connection between the smoke of the bonfires and the darkness of the goat. I would never thought of that, and I'm not, and I would never use the line it had because it's way too corny and stupid. But I thought at that time, yeah, you know what? If you wanted to strengthen certain resonances in a piece of writing, you might ask AI to where those were, where it found those resonances.
There was smoke climbing over the hills. Black is the animal standing still. Bonfires cracking in the winter cold. Everybody dancing like they never grow old. I asked the machine what the darkness meant. It answered back in coincidence, like patterns hidden in dirty glass. Things you only notice after they pass. Smoke of the black goat curling through my lungs slow. Every symbol starts glowing. You think you know. Smoke of the black goat rising through the dead cold. Maybe meaning's just a fire we keep feeding till it holds. You right, I just want the sparks at night. The strange connection in between, the hidden shape behind the scene. Maybe every story's smoke, maybe every god's a joke. Maybe every glowing sign was only waiting for my
for instance, I never, if it starts trying to write prose for me, I tell it immediately, that's not what I'm here for. I'm much better than you at this. I say,
Yeah.
I do not require that help. But those finding those bits that resonate, it's kind of like a junior high English teacher, probably getting it out of a book, but making connections in a Shakespeare or something, connecting the dots for the students. And I found that interesting. But I use it. I do use it for research, but it's really terrible for that. I am interested, for instance, in light cones, which has to do with how some parts of the universe are invisible to us and will never be visible to us. And they cannot ever be reached by us because they are further away than light can reach in the current age of the universe. That is, that's a basic scientific, theoretical construct, and I was trying to get it to talk with me about light cones, and it was clear that I understood this far better than the machine, right? Terrible result for me, because I really want to understand this, and I would like, I'd like to have some real knowledge of it. But I use it in coding, and to learn code. So last year, I taught a course in coding sound, which I'd never done before. I thought originally I would use a different, not a code base, but an interface. And then it occurred to me that it really was less useful to my students. So I just decided to learn to code sound from pure code. And I used ChatGPT exhaustively to not only give me code that worked, but to help me understand the code I was looking at, to help me think through the code, and to help me imagine what I might do next. So I guess there was a creative element there, but in a minor way. So I wouldn't say I use it creatively much. I've experimented with asking it about creative stuff, but I don't really see a whole lot of. But I will say this summer I intend to begin to make some music using Suno, and I don't think any of the chats. I think the words will come straight out of my head. Yeah. But I will be using Suno to make some music, and maybe some other tools to make some music. And that will be my first real creative endeavor with AI, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe we're going to do a couple of episodes, little on down the line.
Yeah,
highlighting that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Andrew,
Andrew, did you have an answer to your own question?
Yeah.
So I believe that AI makes me more creative, but not in the way that you probably think.
Okay, yeah.
It pushes me to think outside the box because I know it has all the knowledge. And to set myself apart, I have to think even harder and I have to brainstorm even harder to more or less outpace and outthink AI, because everyone has access to AI. And so set yourself apart in a world with AI, you need to think deeper, you need to make more connections, and you need to think outside the box.
I'm going to mention something that has occurred to me as we talked about this. One of my favorite bands, U2, their guitarist, The Edge, was asked one time, because he's been kind of groundbreaking in his guitar style and everything. And this is, I'm quoting something that I heard secondhand. So, maybe Edge didn't say this, but they asked him about his style, and he said, basically, I don't use very many notes.
No,
it's not the number of notes you use. It's what you do with them.
Yeah.
And how you configure the very few notes you're actually using. So, and I recognize the danger of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But a lot of what I have had AI work on is my stuff, the stuff that has come out of me. Yeah. And so the danger in that I see is that it can become very solipsistic. That it's like I'm like not breaking any new ground because I'm just going over the same crap over and over again and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But if I believe Edge, and I think I do, I think there are a number of configurations, a number of connections that come directly out of this body of knowledge that is not out there in the rest of the world. It's like unique to me. It's my set of experiences and weirdnesses and everything else. And I think there are connections that can be made there, maybe even endlessly. Not that I'm not always at some level adding to them. I am, because I'm still alive. But I think when I turn it loose on that body of knowledge, I'm not risking plagiarizing somebody else too much.
Yeah,
I'm not risking just grabbing onto weird stuff that's not valid. If I'm saying my goal is to draw things out of my own experience, my own writing, my own creativity, and to reconfigure and to see what might be possible here, then it's a pretty good tool for that.
Yeah. You're using it at a high level, as I said before, and it's inspiring to me to see. It's, I think, part of why I've decided, like I say, to devote a big chunk of this summer to exploring the creativity tool that might be AI. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like most of the people who are using it, though, are at least the word on the street is, they're just plugging something in and expecting AI, expecting Chat GPT or whatever to draw in all the stuff from way out there on the interwebs and bring it to me and make it great. And that's a kind of a, I don't know.
I don't know if I've mentioned potluck. Yeah, I don't know if I've said this. Maybe I have in our sessions. But the term I have for what I think is the number one most common use of AI is prompt and paste.
Yeah.
I write a sentence or two asking for something, and whatever I get, that's what I've got, and that clearly is not very good. I mean, as people, sophisticated human beings with like cultural knowledge, it's clear, it's not very, very good. But if it's just a letter to, try to get something from a company, a freebie from a company, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll work better than anything you could think of because it's also being read by AIs.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting, we're really at a point where everything I'm producing with AIs for AIs. In fact, here's a thought. I don't know what you guys think. I've kind of decided most people might now, or very soon, will be using AI summations of emails. So I'm just going to start writing my emails already summated.
Yeah.
No, just a break, instead of writing an email with information in it, just a breakdown of the information I would have put in the email.
Yeah.
I think that might be interesting and almost kind of fun for me to just say, this is my new email style.
Yeah.
Since I know you're not reading it, since just your AI is reading it.
Yeah. We at our last we had a big conference, and we had like some discussion tables, and there was a colleague, not where I work, but he's a professor at Black Hills State University, and he was at the table with me, and he brought up something really interesting that I thought about losing. We're kind of talking about the issue of losing our humanity. And I hadn't really thought of it this way. A few years ago, when texting got really big, and this guy's about my age.
Yeah. So
his
old.
mom, right. But his mom, who's even older, got a smartphone and started texting him every day. She would text him. She'd punch it out with her thumbs, and it was
sentences.
And things were kind of misspelled, and it was sweet, and it was like, oh my gosh, my mom's connecting with me. Well, just very recently, he has started getting these texts from his mom that are just smooth and perfect.
Oh yes,
and it's like I'm getting the information that she wants me to get, but where's my mom? And it's a really good example.
An AI tool, you're saying?
Yeah, and that's a really good example of, and I feel like, I asked myself, why would she do that? And I think there's always there's a lot of anxiety around writing for a lot of people.
Yes.
Because when you put something out there and you've misspelled or you've written it in a way that people say, well, that sounds dumb or whatever, and you're paranoid about that, you feel like you're putting a piece of yourself out there on display. And I think a lot of folks are leaning heavily on AI because they want to put a better image of themselves out there.
Yeah, that's true.
And that kind of betrays.
But it's less an image of themselves now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad because here are people who are already feeling I'm embarrassed to put myself out there. And I'm so embarrassed to put myself out there that I'm going to put this other thing that's not really me out there and hope you like it. Seriously, you'll maybe think I'm better. And that's a sad situation to me.
used to text like falling rain. Half the words bent sideways strange. Tiny mistakes with a heart inside. Thumbprint poetry every night. Now the messages arrive too clean. Perfect grammar on a glowing screen. And I know exactly what she means, but it doesn't feel like she's speaking to me. My mom is typing perfectly, and somehow that is scaring me. The edge is gone, the fingerprints erased, like someone polished all the human away. We all learned how to smooth our skin, teach the machine to stand us in. A better version, edited light, no hesitation, no typo nights. But love was always crooked words, half-finished thoughts and nervous turns. My mom is typing perfectly, but where's the voice that carried me? I miss the little broken parts, the human static in our heart. If every sentence sounds the same, will anybody know my name? If every feeling's optimized, who survives?
You know, and I think the data is supporting that, exactly what you said, Scott, because right now between 88 to 92% of university students are using AI to augment or even sometimes generate entire essays and content. I just read an article earlier today from the Wall Street Journal saying that the number of A grades has significantly increased since ChatGPT came out in late 2022, so much so that organizations and institutions, really credible ones such as Harvard, are more or less talking to staff and faculty about the number of A's and saying, hey, you got to stop giving so many A's.
Yeah. The thing is, what that does to me is it makes me feel like we've been grading for the wrong things anyway. If I'm the kind of writing teacher who says, I'm going to take off X number of points for every grammatical error that you make or every misspelling or whatever, if that's the kind of thing that I'm doing, then that's a poor excuse for teaching writing. I feel like as teachers, we're going to have to figure out what are we actually wanting them to learn, and how do we actually figure out if they've learned it or assess that they've learned, or help them assess themselves.
Something, of course, it has occurred to me now. When the chats came out as a teacher, my school went cataleptic about what they were going to do about it. I realized that not every time a student is writing is in a writing course. In a history course, you're required to write papers, but they're not there to teach you to write. You should already know that.
Yeah.
But even there, I think we have always been mistaken in thinking that what we're doing is that we can get away with being product-based, judging the product. If I was teaching law or something that I don't know anything about, and students had to write something, I would want to know about their reasoning. I would want to see the process. It's not enough to produce something that's brilliant. I need to know how you got this, because otherwise I may not be teaching you to think and reason properly. even if I'm not teaching writing. But definitely, if you're teaching writing and you're talking to students and then they produce a thing for you and you grade that, and you've never dipped into their process and seen the writing and process, I think you're not doing it right. That is not the way. That doesn't work. I don't think it's not. I mean, it's particularly in the era of chatbots. It's just too easy to. But I had a student produce. We were doing I think I may have spoken about it before. I'll keep it short here. We're doing a course in world building, and so this student produced a kind of outline of what's going on in this world, and it was full of these different zones. Where different things were going on. It was a forest of glass. These are nice ideas. I like these. But clearly it came out of ChatGPT. I asked him at the end of his presentation if this was straight out of ChatGPT because I recognized the writing style. Simple as that. It's not like I didn't think this guy was capable of coming up with these ideas. I recognized the style. And he admitted kind of sheepishly, yeah. So I said, okay, this is great. It's a good place to start. But now your challenge here is to sift through this and find the things that speak to you, to develop those things and leave other things behind, to put in the work to make something that you think it represents your ideas and your thoughts and what you want to say, and that you think would sell to other people in whatever context, a game or a movie, or world building is common thread throughout many productions of media. And I said, this is a job that takes weeks. And that if that had happened, or if that happens, then I have no problem with where the thing started. None. Yeah. And I don't care if you keep going back to ChatGPT to build up the ideas that you want to build up and to help eliminate the ideas you don't really care for. That's fine too. As far as I'm concerned, you're doing the work of, it looks a lot like writing.
Yeah.
But that, I believe what I saw was, and what I'm seeing is prompt and paste, and that's nothing like the work of writing.
Right. Yeah.
I gave that guy an A.
Good. Well,
I don't. I'm unashamedly grade inflating, but in this class particularly, I say at the top, this is a studio class, and it's not like I can stand over your shoulders if you're painting a picture and just go, "Oh no, you're not doing it right." So participation is it. You do the thing, you get the grade. But I say the only thing you have to lose is my respect. If I don't see you doing the thing and engaging, properly with yourself, bringing yourself to the project, you have nothing to lose but my positive regard. Yeah. And it always gets a laugh. It always gets a laugh too. But it's it's the truth. It's the truth.
Well, your example there reminded me of something, and I don't know exactly what you meant about this, Andrew, but when we had talked earlier, you had said something about maybe we could get into talking a little bit about simulations. What did you had some ideas about that along the lines of I don't know what context. I think with education, with learning, but what were you thinking about with that?
I'm keen on this subject as well, Andrew.
I thought you were.
Well, what I was thinking about was I keep seeing on especially social media, people talking about this concept of simulation theory, where the more and more they dive into technology, especially AI, the more it's becoming clearer and clearer to them, at least, not necessarily me, that we're just one big binary ones and zeros simulation.
And we're living in one.
That we're living in one, correct, Mark. Yep. And it's an interesting concept, I think as I've started thinking more and more about it, and then thinking about how AI has kind of opened up my thoughts and perceptions of spirituality, I don't see it as so far-fetched as I used to.
I think definitely it's not that new an idea. I mean, samsara in the Buddhist tradition is illusion. And Buddha has to break through that illusion and learn to not be fooled by the illusion that rules this world. So it's definitely not a new idea, and I think people have felt it throughout time. that this is a dream. There's a famous Chinese sage who dreamt that he was a butterfly, but when he woke, he said, I'm not sure now if I'm a man dreaming I was a butterfly, or if I'm a butterfly dreaming I'm a man. So the idea that we are living in an illusion is ancient. And I think it's based on some principles of the way our brains function, that this idea occurs and appeals to us and keeps recurring. Here, how about this, guys? What do you think of this? So I thought, okay, so I've been well aware of the idea that we might be living in a simulation and what people say about that. And one of the things they say is, what are they simulating? Why are they running this simulation? And it seems like maybe one of the things they might be trying to reestablish or understand, at least people perhaps in our far future, or maybe they don't look at all like us, right? Aliens of some kind. But what would they be trying to understand? And it might be the moment that they developed this simulation, the ability to simulate universes. So we're poised at that point. They're running it to find out what it's like, what happens when a society engages with this power to simulate universes. When COVID occurred, I thought at that time, 2020 or 2021, I was thinking that happens. That's happened now. And we are in the simulation. We have now simulated a new universe. Somewhere out there, somebody's doing it. And that slows down our clock. So if you have a computer running a simulation of a universe, and inside that simulation, they start simulating a new universe, everything at the top level has to slow down, right, to allow that simulation to occur. And so that's what COVID was. It's a part of the program that comes in and says everything above this threshold where the simulation is occurring has to slow the hell down so that these people can do their simulating. And then just a couple of years after that, the AIs show up.
Yeah.
I think this looks very, I don't know, incriminating. Is that the right word? It definitely seems suspicious, as sus, as the kids say.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that interesting. I think a couple of things. I think one, as the further we get, the better we get at utilizing AI to create very realistic things that to simulate
They're going to be
things that we see.
They're going to be indistinguishable from the real eventually.
Then what that does is it opens up the possibility. It just opens up the possibility to more people more of the time that, well, what's the difference? I mean, why is that simulated, but this over here, me, why am I not?
Right.
And so, but then also things like our recent understanding of the Higgs field, that
Yes.
really none of this matter has any substance. We could just go flat immediately, other than these things that we don't quite exactly understand that give us substance. And is that substance really substance, or is it the perception of substance? And is it the fact that we're observing these things, that's what gives it substance? And all of these questions are valid questions that people are talking about, and they all point to, does it really matter? What is the difference between reality and simulation, if we take all of these things into account?
I gave it some thought back in the day when we were all reading, Scott, Thomas Covenant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we haven't talked about Thomas Covenant yet.
No, and it's weird how he's kind of dropped out of the discourse. It's an interesting set of books. It was a great trilogy, and then it got a kind of weirder second trilogy. But Thomas Covenant, Andrew, in case you don't know, was an Earth person. I mean, he was a guy on our world.
He had leprosy.
He had contracted leprosy, and then he lost some of his fingers in his hand. It's a significant symbolically, I think. And he had a wedding ring made of platinum also.
No, it was white gold.
Yeah, well, I think that is white gold, isn't it?
No. Platinum's different.
It's white gold. And anyway, he encounters, I believe the first time, it's an old man staring into the sun. And the old man either asks him or gives him a slip of paper, I don't remember, you're living in a simulation. How do you behave? If you're living in a simulation, what difference does it make? And so I have an early, answer to this question, and the answer is morally, it makes no difference.
Mm-hmm.
I am the people who running the simulation. They can change the rules anytime they want, and I don't know if you guys feel, but I definitely feel they've been twiddling the knobs just lately. They've really been turning the knobs,
Yeah.
One of my, in fact, the poem I wrote that I sold to Asimov's called Learning Toy is exactly about this. But they're twiddling the knobs. Maybe it's not the same person who built the kit in the first place, right? But it doesn't matter morally that they can change the rules or that they can suspend the rules. I can't control them. I think it's a Christian, but I think it's also a Stoic notion that what I can control is my reaction to event.
Yeah.
And that's all that I can control. And the moment I know that and fully accept it, I'm free. I could be in a prison. I could be unjustly accused. I could have tyrannical overlords twiddling the knobs of reality. I can only control how I react to that. And that is all I can control, but I can control it. Of course, the Stoics, I don't know, maybe they didn't live long enough to lose their minds, to lose their ability to control themselves.
Yeah.
But as long as I can control my reactions to the situation in which I find myself, I'm not a fan of the universe as is. As long as I can control my reactions to it, I am going to remain free.
Yeah. I remember you talked with me about this. We were sitting in church, and it was during the sermon, and you asked me this question, or it may have been right after. I don't know. But we were in church, and because you had already started the books, and I had not. I didn't. But you asked me that, and then so I started the books
really
after that.
Plugging, what was the guy's name? Kincaid or something?
Oh, geez, I can't remember now. But it was because he learns that from the old man, but he also learns it in, I think, his first trip, where he goes to this other world, and he is absolutely, utterly convinced that it is a dream. It's not real.
He
and
knows
so
it's not real.
and he's relatively a good guy, but in this first trip into this dream, he literally rapes a young woman.
Yeah.
And then he learns that lesson through this guilt that he lives with the rest of the series, I think, if I'm remembering right.
It's definitely that's why he commits this heinous crime.
He's justified it.
He's justified
it. It's a dream. It's not. So I can do whatever I want. And I think, in some ways, that is how maybe some of the most atrocious things that humans do. There is a separation from reality. This is not. If I can dehumanize you, if I can say this is just not, I wouldn't do this to my sister. I wouldn't do this to people. But this is different. Then suddenly you're able to commit atrocities. I don't think that's the only reason we commit atrocities, by the way, but so I think to draw it back to education, I think this is why they do a lot of simulations in ethics classes, because it does matter, and this is one of the ways I think that we figure out who am I and what am I capable of. For me to set up the scenario long before it happens right there in front of me, and I have to make a decision in the moment. If I know who I am and I know what I believe and I know what I choose to do that is in my control, and I've run that scenario in my mind, then I'm ready when it happens. So anyway, I don't know. Is that kind of what you were asking about, or did you have some other thoughts on simulation, Andrew?
It was more so, I think, related to what you brought up earlier with as AI generated content becomes more and more photorealistic,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's hard to draw. It becomes harder to draw the line. And one of the more recent features or AI tools out there is called
Hmm.
Genie 3, and it is an AI simulation world builder. And you
Okay.
type in whatever you want into a prompt box, and it will create an entire virtual world that, as you continue to navigate the world, you can essentially iterate and reprompt in real time what is going to show up in the distance or what interactions are going to happen. If there's a cat that walks across the road and you're in maybe medieval Europe, you can essentially prompt the simulation model to on demand create more or less an entire world. And as you think about the combinations of ones and zeros that kind of go into creating that
Hmm.
visual all those visual elements, the audio, everything. Who's to say that we're not also just a combination of ones and zeros?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think many people live um, uh, for a long time, even before AI, have lived in their own created simulations. I mean, I think Facebook is that for many people. I'm creating my simulated life that I'm displaying to all of you. I'm cosplaying who I
Yeah.
am, and if I'm comfortable with that, then that I am losing a little bit of the division between
Yeah.
um, reality and simulation. And if when people, this is funny because people used to talk a whole lot about internet etiquette. And it's like, how should
Wow.
I behave on the
Yeah.
internet? Well, how about you behave exactly the way humans should behave when they're face to face? How about you do that? Just because we're suddenly on the internet doesn't mean that I'm going to treat other humans on the other end of this whatever I'm on in some way that I wouldn't treat them if they were standing in front of me.
I think about people who get, in a way, lost in novels and books and fantasies. I mean, we think reading is a good thing, but I mean, there are people who live more in the books they read than they live in the real world.
Yeah.
And I don't know, look, I don't think it's so terrible. The real world is pretty bad in some ways. Like I say, I'm not a giant fan.
Yeah.
But so I mean, but I think you're right, and definitely, I have behaved differently on social media than I would in person. But so was everyone in the scene. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? People with
Yeah.
people within the conversation or the thread or the scene were also behaving differently than they would have if they were talking to me face to face.
Yeah.
So it is something that it's like one failure leads to a cascade failure.
Well, and I also leave room for the fact that any location, any situation has a different set of parameters that people
Yeah.
abide
Yeah.
by. Um, it may be appropriate if I'm, in the fighting cage with someone to punch them in the face because
Yes.
that's, we've all agreed upon those
Yes.
rules. But just, out on the street, that's not
Yeah. The
appropriate.
first rule we agreed to
So-
was we don't talk about Fight Club, Scott.
Don't talk about Fight Club. That's right. I forgot that
Jeez.
rule. I know.
Yeah. So
Something
Well-
that Mark had brought up here that I just kind of connected to was the whole concept of people kind of getting lost in their own realities, their own simulations. And one of the interesting concepts, especially within the world of AI, is this concept of AI psychosis,
Mm.
where people are spiraling down these fantasies, these obsessions, these thoughts that they think are groundbreaking. They think that they have this new math formula that
Yes.
they need to tell everyone about, when in
Yes.
fact AI is just acting as this sycophantic You
Yeah.
know, it's
That's a
basically
specific example. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just intrigued by that whole phenomenon and wondering if we're going to see more of that.
Definitely, I think we will. I think, imagine if you can, what it was like before television. And then television comes in. And then at one point, as when I was a kid, people were saying children watch 14 hours of television a week or 22 hours of television a week or whatever it was. And those numbers were startling and, just frankly alarming, even to me as a kid. And I was probably watching that many hours. And the thing is, we just en masse entered into this shared hallucination. Now the hallucinations aren't shared. When we all watched, not we, because I only know it as in reruns, but when it's hard for us, I think, to fathom this. But I Dream of Jeannie was primetime television. It was on one night a week. Guys would come, longshoremen, would come home from a day of loading, ships, and sit down and watch I Dream of Jeannie, and they all shared that fantasy of having a beautiful lover who could create anything you wanted at any time, but you're above it and you're trying to keep her from doing that. Somehow that's a weird fantasy. It's a weird fantasy, but it's not the only example, because it's a ripoff of Bewitched. But that was a television show that everyone saw, and the next day people would be talking about that Barbara Eden. She is so cute, or whatever. But now we don't. Now we can have a writer, a creator, a filmmaker, a television producer produce content just for us, just for me. That's a when we all started watching television like crazy, it was alarming. As we all drift off in our own directions, that seems also quite alarming.
Yeah.
We're not. In the old days, we shared the novels that Lord of the Rings. People kind of moved into. Some people moved into the Lord of the Rings, and I think some young people moved into the Harry Potter world. They just moved right in. But in the future, we'll all be moving into separate little channels that are tailored just for us. That looks like the end of the human experiment in some weird way. I used to say,
definitely
you want to conquer the planet Earth, help us invent sex bots, but we don't really need the bots. Just somebody who can horny talk to us. I mean, that might just be the end. It's like, why would I leave? Why would I leave my house? Why would I go try to meet a real person?
Well, it is the disillusion of culture. I mean, because the thing about human culture is that it is shared.
It was limited,
and if we move strongly in this direction of
unlimited,
less shared experiences, cultural experiences, then we're really going to be isolated in some interesting and strange
I was
ways.
a weird little kid, and if I could have just had a world built just for me, it would have been a weird little world. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, in just a little bit, Andrew, I'm going to give you a chance to kind of pitch anything you want to pitch, or tell us a little bit about anything else you want whatever listeners we have, whatever you want them to know about. But it is, I think, that time where I'm going to select.
Yeah, I was going to just pitch to
a type of music. You were going to pitch. I'll let you pitch it.
Scott,
go ahead and pitch it.
Select a type of music.
Hey. Well, I'll tell you what. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about it earlier. And this. I'm gonna mention a genre that I'm not that familiar with. Although I have listened to some bands that fall in this genre. It is indie-tronica. So it is indie, as in indie rock, indie pop, homemade stuff, and electronica.
Okay, indie-tronica.
And the bands that fall under that I'm familiar with, and there are a lot that I'm not familiar with at all. But the Postal Service, and I've been told, later Bon Iver, not the early Bon Iver, but later Bon Iver. He did go pretty technical. So
Indie-tronic.
So I'm Indie-tronic. Indie-tronic. And so I'm gonna play with that and see what we get. It feels appropriate since we were kind of talking a lot of AI and education and so anyway. But Andrew, anything you'd like to tell our listeners about, plug or anything else, and including if there's some links that you want put in, I can put those in on the website too.
Yeah, I mean. As far as when it comes to AI, I don't think I have any personal plugs or anything. I just really encourage folks to join as many different Facebook groups as you can, subscribe to at least a couple newsletters to stay up to date with this technology, or potentially maybe follow a couple people on YouTube or social media. Because it is continuing to change our society at such a rapid rate. It's like a fire hose is just being sprayed into your mouth.
Oh,
yeah.
And even myself, who does this for a living, can barely keep up to date with it. So try to get connected and as far as personal pet projects, I've been working on my new album coming out in about a month is Disco Jesus.
Great name.
I'm excited about that.
And so I can't wait. It's going to be this persona of Jesus as this disco king, and all 12 songs are going to be related to being groovy and hitting the hustle and all the cool disco vocabulary.
Great.
Somebody's turning the knobs tonight. Pixels blooming into city lights. We built a world inside a world. Now the wires wrap around the earth. There's a disco ball above the void, spinning halos for the paranoid. And Jesus in a silver suit, teaching angels how to move. Simulation theory, disco. Everybody dancing in the info. Ones and zeros, heaven stereo, spinning through the afterglow. Simulation theory, disco. Tell me something only humans know. If this whole world's synthetic light, why does your touch feel so alive? Everybody's got their private stream, tailor-made hallucination dreams, infinite channels in separate rooms, no shared sky, no common moon. AI prophets on my phone, telling me I'm not alone. Maybe that's the oldest trick. Maybe loneliness is code itself. And if they pause the simulation, freeze us mid-conversation, will the music still remain, echoing beyond the frame? Simulation theory, disco, neon saints and burning halos, dance until the servers fold, dance like consciousness is gold.
I knew we'd hit the spiritual side pretty quick. So, well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that you do. You've ushered me into awareness of a lot of things, and I know you're helping a lot of teachers out there. So, anything you want to wrap up with, Mark?
I'm just so glad to have been invited here today.
I'm always going to invite you to this, Mark. Since you're the co-host,
you would be lonely without me. Yeah,
it would be. It would be a sad conversation. Although I'm certain I could make a lot of interesting stuff out of the transcript.
Yeah, I bet that's true.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys both down the line a little bit.
Take care.
Bye-bye. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this one and hear a few more songs, just subscribe to Faith Fulcrum on your favorite podcast platform, or go to faithfulcrum.com, where you'll find all of our first season episodes and every episode yet to come. This has been Faith Fulcrum.